by 7 at Crypto.com to take a 3-0 lead in the best-of-7 playoff series. This is the first time in LeBron's 21-year career that he's down 3-0 in the first or second round. If the Nuggets win Game 4 Saturday, the Lakers are done for the season. The Nuggets have beaten the Lakers 11 straight times, including 7 straight times in the playoffs. What is up with D'Angelo Russell? In Game 2 at Denver, Russell dropped a career-high 7 3-pointers. Last night, he couldn't bust a grape. Russell was 0 for 7, including 0 for 6 on 3-pointers. He was scoreless the entire night. Not a good stat line for Russell's resume when the Lakers front office decides whether or not to bring him back next season. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is the fastest growing talk radio station in Southern California, home to 50,000 watts and an audience reach of 12 million listeners. KBLA Talk 1580 is a pioneer for Black audio content, including our groundbreaking $2 million climate justice campaign and the most loyal, influential audience. According to an independent research study by the polling firm Reparations, for the second consecutive year, KBLA Talk 1580 is the most trustworthy, reliable, and credible news source for Black audiences and beyond in Southern California. Let KBLA Talk 1580 power your advertising dollars. Our omni-channel custom marketing solutions are specifically tailored to connect with your ideal target audience. We leverage audio, podcasts, streaming, digital, social media, and local activations to get your message out to the Black community. Get in touch with our advertising team today at advertising@KBLA1580.com. That's advertising at KBLA1580.com. KBLA 1580. We've got you Black.
School, you and me, G. Back in the days, we played practical jokes, so everybody smoked with they lokes and they yokes, so all through high school, girls by the dozens, saying we cousins, knowing that we wasn't, but like the old saying goes, time goes on and everybody grows. Grew apart, had to part, went our own ways. You chose the dope game, my microphone pays. In many ways, we were paid in the old days, so far away from the crazies with AKs. And though I've been around clowning with the underground, I'm still down with my homies from the hometown. And if you need anything at all, I drop it off for y'all if my homies call.
KBLA Talk 1580. My homies call 800-920-1580. That would be you, homie. Give me a call 800-920-1580. It's a Freedmen Friday, but it's open phones right now, so we can talk about what we learned or what we felt or what we thought about the comprehensive reparations conversation we are having on an ongoing basis, what we may have learned today. I had read about Belinda Sutton, but really I think I forgot. She was part of the royal estate, 18th century. This is one of the things that Charles Barron brought up on his way out the door today, that, she did numerous petitions, including one in 1783 to the Massachusetts General Court, in which she told her life story and claimed that a pension was due from the estate of Isaac Royal Jr. And as he said, she won. She might not have gotten everything that we would have liked her to get, but this is 1783. So, some of the things we take away from these conversations, aside from, whatever the controversies are, whatever the different approaches are, certainly we have to look at the victories. New York now joins just 4 states that have a reparations task force, and that certainly represents momentum. We've talked a lot about Callie House on this show, and we'll keep talking about her because she toured the country in the 1800s, calling for people to join the reparations movement. And she recruited many before she was actually targeted and harassed. Surprise, surprise. But she had, I believe, at least 1 million people I might be misremembering that, but she had recruited black people to the cause of reparations in the 1890s, and these are things that we can build upon. Um, that is part of what we need to do on our Freedmen Fridays is get our historical knowledge together, get our fluency in what's going on right now. Colorado, Massachusetts, New York, California. Boom, states, dozens of cities now with task force and commissions. This is truly momentum. Let's go to Angela calling us from Los Angeles. Good morning, Angela.
Good morning, Dominique. How are you?
I'm blessed. Long time no hear from.
I know. Hey, I'm glad. I just want to say, I'm make it short and brief. I'm glad you're keeping this topic alive because they want us to go away, but we're not. And I'm glad you're keeping your foot on it, along with all the other people that's involved. And what I would like to know is Gavin Newsom still on board with us or what?
Well, Gavin Newsom, a lot of people jumped on him when he said reparations is about more than cash, myself included. He backed away from that, and he has said that he supports reparations. Now, we have to see what he does because he will have to sign, there's 16 bills right now, at least 16 that I know of, in California that are moving through. Some of those are pretty strong, some of them pretty not strong. Some of them shouldn't even be included as reparations. But we got to see, is he going to sign the bills? Or is he just saying he supports reparations? He supported the task force, and a lot of people, myself included, believe he's running for president. So how far will he go with reparations, knowing that he has his eye on the White House?
Exactly. Well, we just have to keep an eye on him and see what's going on, but we're not going to let it go, that's for sure, and I'm glad, and you have a blessed day.
All right, Angela, great to hear from you. Call me again anytime. Angela called 800-920-1580, 800-920-1580, and you can do the same. Trying to see if Callie House died in 1928. She lived into the 20th century, and in 1891 she wrote a pamphlet called Freedmen's Pension Bill, a plea for American freedmen. And she was going around the country. Okay, I was wrong. It wasn't 1 million. It was 300,000 people nationwide that she had. But, imagine this is before social media, before, email or anything like that. So she's literally traveling the country. And the federal government, they tried to get her arrested. They finally did get her, and she served time in prison. For 2 years, from 1917 to, a little under 2 years, to 1918. But she continued to advocate for reparations throughout her life. What they got her for was claiming that she was fraudulently telling formerly enslaved people that reparations were on the way. Of course, that's a he said, she said. It's a takedown is what it is. But again, I think that was important and is important to continue to remember these folks and remember that this struggle now is part of a continuum, even within the movement today, where you have various factions and different organizations. Everyone's moving this issue, and I think that's one of the most encouraging things for me as we continue. We had a lot of comments. Friday Jones said the California legislation literally passed this week establishing a Freedmen's Bureau. I think it passed out of committee. I don't believe it's passed out of the full Congress, but I could be wrong about that. Friday Jones, correct me if I'm wrong. I know you're much more, up to date in some ways than I am. And Annette, I already quoted Annette Wilcox on that. But she said that, that lineage organizations were left out. And I've heard that complaint in California as well. Then I hear, from people on the N'COBRA side, the Pan-Africanist side, that they are being attacked and personally attacked, swarmed, and such. And so I think it's important to put this in context. I was, Charles Barron brought up my dad, Amiri Baraka, who was much quicker than I am to call people out, right? And say, yes, I agree with you on this, but this is BS, in the most animated way that he would do it. And I don't think that having debate is necessarily a bad thing. As long as we're able to keep moving the issue forward and not get stuck fighting each other. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I think we're learning from each other. In fact, I was really, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I know that you will, but you can do it on the radio, 800-920-1580, or if you think that I'm wrong. But I was really dismayed that some people were attacking Nicole Hannah-Jones because they said she has moved towards a recognition of the importance of the African American or the Freedmen, Negro, whatever you want to call us, Black American, our specific experience. To me, if I'm in a political debate with you and I influence you, and or you influence me, that's the whole point of political debate. I don't sit there and go, oh, that Miles, I've been telling him all along, that, or Miles, I don't expect Miles to tell me, oh, I've been telling Dominique all along that Tupac was amazing and she doesn't give him his props. And then I start giving him his props and he starts going, she stole that from me. Like, what? No, we're supposedly, as activists, change makers, public intellectuals, advocates for Black people, our ideal outcome is that we influence someone else. And then we don't call them out and bash them for listening to us, I don't think. And I probably agree to disagree with you if you don't feel what I'm saying. If I'm arguing, and I will continue to argue, my vision of Pan-Africanism is that we understand that we know all human beings are descended from the motherland. We understand that as phenotypically Black people, visibly Black people, we are connected throughout the diaspora. We have some common interests, and we should unite around those common interests to smash white supremacy, to get rid of anti-Blackness, and to further our interests where they conflate, which is more than, many times we know. That's my definition. That does not preclude or undermine the idea of recognizing the specificity of the Black American experience, of our ancestors who were enslaved, who worked on plantations, who aren't that many generations ago. People try to say like it was such a long time ago. Callie House went to prison in 1917. She died in 1928. My great-great-grandmother was enslaved. That's not that far back. You know what I mean? Somebody my dad knew. I never met her. That is not long ago. And so I think it's important to shed light on those ancestors. And one of the things I find most valuable and important about the lineage movement is reconnecting with our actual ancestors. Not sort of a vague idea of who that might be, of Blackness or Freedmanness or Africanness, but who are your people? That's one of the things we've had robbed from us, right? Who are your people? Who's your mama, your grandma, your great-grandma, your great-great-great? Most of us can't go that far back if we're from this country. And there's a reason for that. And I think that those are not at odds. I've been kind of semi-paying attention, tapping in and out of a conversation on my own Twitter where people are arguing about the idea of Pan-Africanism and what it is. And I just think there's a lot of, right now we've gotten to the point where some people are just making Pan-African and lineage into these boogeymen, boogie women, without a real understanding of what it even means, or what the scope of it is, or where the points of unity are. I hope I'm making you guys happy enough or mad enough to call me. 800-920-1580, 800-920-1580. We don't just have to talk about this. Can we talk about the United States Supreme Court? I've said all along, I copy my dad. He calls them the extreme court. I have said all along that I think they're blatantly, shamelessly conservative, agenda-ridden, activist, political hacks. I've called them the extreme court. I've called them all kinds of things. Yesterday, they showed me that they're even worse than I thought. Yesterday, they showed me that I was being naive in giving them any benefit of the doubt at all. Yesterday, they showed their behinds and signaled that they may be considering immunity for the former president of the United States. I never thought they would do that. Never, never, never. They thought they would undermine their legitimacy, that they thought they would look like the hacks that they are, that they would be worried about actually waking up the Congress to add more members to the Supreme Court, which the Congress could do if they could pass it by a simple majority right now, or a constitutional amendment to give them term limits, which is what I would really love to see. They don't, lifetime appointment is for monarchies. But no, they signaled yesterday that they may give immunity to DJT. Wow. Dominique's head exploding. 800-920-1580. Let's talk about it. KBLA Talk 1580.
Say the quiet part out loud. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, I'm Reverend Gerald, host of Urban Family Focus here on KBLA Talk 1580 on Saturday mornings at 7 a.m. In an effort to help reduce the impact of hypertension in our community, Providence is offering free hypertension assessments. The first 30 people to visit KBLA1580.com and use the link or QR code to register will receive 2 tickets to the Amazing Grace Conservatory presentation of Aladdin, A Whole New World for Real, at the Crenshaw Performing Arts Center, May 25th and 26th. Go to KBLA1580.com right now and be one of the first 30 to register for your hypertension screening and receive 2 tickets to Aladdin, compliments of Providence and KBLA Talk 1580. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
City of Los Angeles landlords, verify your tenant's emergency renters assistance program status today. Tenants approved for rental assistance are protected from eviction for non-payment of rent through May 31st, 2024. Approved rental assistance applications protect tenants from eviction for non-payment of rent. Refusing to accept rental assistance based on their source of income is illegal under law and can be used as a defense in an eviction case. Check your tenant's application status now at housing.lacity.org. That's housing.lacity.org.
Did you know one of the best investments you can make? It's in yourself. At My Computer Career, in just a few months, you can start your new career in the high-demand, recession-resistant field of information technology. Isn't it time you invest in you and start a career in networking, cybersecurity, AI, or upskill to boost your current IT career? So get the ROI you deserve at My Computer Career. No experience necessary. Start now at mycomputercareer.edu.
Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
Are you wet shaving? You'll get razor bumps.
Nah, Pops. I'm good with Gillette Skin Guard. How long you been growing that beard Mama hates anyway?
Since 77. I shaved and got ingrown so bad.
That's why I use the Gillette Skin Guard razor, face scrub, shave gel, and moisturizer. So I don't have to worry about new razor bumps or shaving irritation.
Gillette Skin Guard, huh? Your mama's gonna love this one.
The best a man can get keeps getting better with Gillette Skin Guard. Buy now at a retailer near you.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Angela. Call 800-920-1580, and you can do the same. I'm just really feeling for these students. They're getting arrested. They're having their rights taken. They're being suspended. Anti-democratic. That's their right to protest. Yeah, you have a right to keep your campus going. Sit down with student leaders, have a conversation, make some concessions, have some back and forth. Ruining their reputation so they can't get jobs after college. here at in Los Angeles, stealing their graduation from them by canceling it as USC is doing. Just bumbling and mishandling. And somebody, it was Sherry Bell who said earlier in the show that foreign students, their parents must be angry they're paying all this money. But another friend of mine pointed out that many of these foreign students are coming from authoritarian nations. You know, if their student is from Saudi Arabia or China, they're probably not that freaked out by students getting arrested for protesting. And if it's really all about the money, which is what it looks like right now, universities, it's not about Israel, not about Palestine, not about students, not about freedom of speech, not about public safety, really about the money, that's what you're making it look like. This is predatory capitalism doing what it does. Let's go to Kwamel from Gardena. Good morning, Kwamel.
I'll be darned. I hope you heard me like Master P. So let me start the frame like this. To the Supreme Court point about the immunity issue yesterday. For one, you've got to look at who the they are. We know we have, Thomas and Alito pretty much on the take. Lots of right-wing bucks and, other forms of bribery, just filling their coffers to keep them on the right sufficiently.
Roberts too.
And it's kind of sad because it seemed like Roberts had been pegged for the longest as the one who really wanted to stand for legitimacy of
but he's still
court.
on the take. That was my point.
The point, and also it would matter to find out who these folks are, and not to grab the saying and appropriate it a different way, but to say those names, just like how the right loves to talk about Soros all the freaking time, and how we used to talk about the Koch brothers. It's important to get out and talk about who the charlatans are, who the financiers of the shenanigans are, so that we have an idea who we're putting our support behind and who we may not want to have support going towards anymore. And it's going to be the same thing for anybody doing all this right-wing backed silencing of students or anyone else's speech, and then turning right around and yelling about cancel culture when it's one of them.
Right.
So,
that's a great point.
It's
That's a really good point.
It's important to always look and say, okay, look, so you want anything that's not hard rights, hard oppression, speech out the paint. No, it's time to fight back, and it starts with recognizing what exactly that is, who exactly that is.
You notice how when Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson had the Trump lawyer on the ropes, Gorsuch, stepped in, interrupted her, and stopped that train of thought before she could totally, dismantle him.
Yeah, and that's another thing. It takes the practice of knowing when these schmucks are going to do these kind of things, and knowing how to nip that right in the bud and stomp them out. Because yes, they're going to keep doing it because they have that arrogance. The right and white supremacy has that kind of arrogance about them. So we have to develop a fight that properly counters it. Otherwise, if we do kind of get on in a kind of on the defensive, as opposed to getting on an assertiveness, if you will, then that we play right into their hands.
But really, realistically, Kwamel, seeing whatever you saw of yesterday's 3-hour-long hearing from the Supreme Court on this idea of whether or not a president has immunity, it did seem like they were actually leaning toward possibly giving him immunity. I mean, I was stunned by that.
I mean, of course, the righties are going to go for that, and that's the other thing. You always have to call out that hypocrisy because they only want it when it's convenient for them. Like D.L. Hughley said, they only want it when it suits them. If that was precedent for everybody, they would lose it. Just like the case back in the day with Muhammad Noor, the Minnesota police officer who kills that Wild Australian lady, Justine Demond. I wondered if it was state. I was like, okay, how's this case going to go? Is it going to say state violence wins out no matter who did it, or is it white lives matter? And these are the types of hypocrisies we have to look out for every time and call it out and show to the public, so that so they know that we're up on game at the very least. On that note, I thank you for your time.
All right, Kwamel. You're always paying attention, which is amazing. I guess I didn't think. I understand that the conservative side would want to give immunity to President Trump, but I didn't think they would go that far. I thought they were going to drag their feet, take 100 years, make sure that the cases didn't happen before the election. I expected that. I did not expect them to actually. I didn't expect them to actually be open to the idea of immunity. I mean, Justice Amy Coney Barrett was kind of saying, well, maybe they could have immunity for their official acts and not immunity for their personal acts, which means, that it would greatly reduce the number of charges against Trump, and maybe that's a compromise that they're talking about. But it's still a huge problem. Because if I can somehow convince you that killing my political rival or staging a coup was part of my official duties, then I have total immunity for that. And theoretically, that would apply to any president, even a Democrat. But we already know that if they give presidents immunity and Trump gets the presidency again, we probably won't have another president. Maybe ever. Possibly, or at least until Trump kicks the bucket, because he ain't leaving office. He's going to stay there until he dies from Diet Coke and self-tanning. I mean, I don't see... So you could say, well, they won't do this if it applies to everybody. Technically, it would apply to everybody, except there won't be an everybody. To me, this is... you talk about the demise of our democracy and the erosion of voting rights and voter suppression and gerrymandering and all the things that threaten multiracial direct democracy. Giving presidents immunity from putting them above the law, that is the end of democracy. That is absolute power. That is dictatorship. Monarchy, actually. That means a president is a king or queen. And that's just wrong. News, traffic, and sports, and more conversation on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique Baraka when we come forward.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. The company that owns Google is announcing its first ever dividend. Alphabet on Thursday announced a dividend of 20 cents per share and a stock buyback of $70 billion. Stock in the company surged nearly 16% after the bell, increasing its stock market value by about $300 billion to over $2 trillion. Former University of Southern California running back Reggie Bush now has his 2005 Heisman Trophy back. The African-American former star running back had his trophy taken away in 2010 after the NCAA imposed sanctions on USC for infractions including Bush receiving improper benefits. The Heisman Trust told ESPN the reinstatement of Bush's trophy comes as there has been enormous changes in the college football landscape. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Visit Chevrolet of Montebello for spring savings. Lease a 2024 Chevy Trax for $249 per month or a Chevy Equinox for only $199 per month. Visit ChevroletofMontebello.com for details. Together, let's drive.
At Chevrolet of Montebello.
Is this the title?
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A painful reality has made its way to Lakers Nation. The Lakers just aren't good enough to beat the Denver Nuggets. The Nuggets won by 7 at Crypto.com to take a 3-0 lead in the best-of-7 playoff series. This is the first time in LeBron's 21-year career that he's down 3-0 in the first or second round. If the Nuggets win Game 4 Saturday, the Lakers are done for the season. The Nuggets have beaten the Lakers 11 straight times, including 7 straight times in the playoffs. What is up with D'Angelo Russell? In Game 2 at Denver, Russell dropped a career-high 7 3-pointers. Last night, he couldn't bust a grape. Russell was 0 for 7, including 0 for 6 on 3-pointers. He was scoreless the entire night. Not a good stat line for Russell's resume when the Lakers front office decides whether or not to bring him back next season. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, home of the 2024 Climate Justice Campaign.
Tips to help improve your credit score in 2024. Establishing credit is an important key to achieving financial health, but building a credit history from scratch can feel challenging since you need credit to build credit. First, what does it mean to build credit? All consumers have a score between 300 and 850. You want your score to be as high as possible as lenders look at your credit score to make loan and credit decisions. A good credit score shows you have a track record of borrowing money responsibly. Remember, it's never too late to build or rebuild your credit. This segment is sponsored by J.P. Morgan Chase & Company.
It's time for California Community College's Black Student Success Week. This week-long event, held April 22nd through the 26th, is an opportunity to focus on innovative approaches to ensuring Black and African American students succeed in their educational pursuits. Black Student Success Week 2024, building a better future together. The urgency is now. For more information, visit blackstudentsuccess.com. That's blkstudentsuccess.com.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well-trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone, and should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month. If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your Senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online at hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation to determine the ED medication that's best for you, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and a range of treatment options, including trusted generic alternatives to the name brands, at up to 95% off. ED is personal, and at Hims, so is treating it. Just go to hims.com/joy and get connected to a licensed medical provider online for free, with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit. HIMS.com/JOY.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
You got a big mouth. Hello, Joe, you're up. Welcome.
We're unapologetically progressive, and we don't black down.
And we don't. And neither do you. 800-920-1580. Look, I really want to make sure that we know, Wealth Building Wednesday is a thing around here. I want to make sure that you know that this wealth building opportunity is happening for free in Los Angeles on Monday. It's the LA County Department of Economic Opportunity for the city of Los Angeles. Supervisor Holly Mitchell teaming up at the LA Coliseum, launching the LA Region Small Business Summits. Los Angeles Region Small Business Summits kicks off April 29th. It is free. It's from 9 to 3 p.m., and you can find all about the county's new economic mobility initiative and a bunch of other free programs that can help you as an individual entrepreneur, can help your small business or your nonprofit organization. You got to register. That's the only thing. It's free, but register at lacountyemi.com. That's lacountyemi.com. The phone lines are open. The conversation is on, 800-920-1580. And we're going to Fahima calling us from Washington, D.C.
Habarigani and K Pasa, Dominique. How are you, my sister?
I'm blessed. How are you?
I'm good. It was good to hear Charles Barron, and I want to make 2 points. One, the reparations legislation that Kathy Hochul signed in New York was originally drafted by Charles Barron while he was in the city council, but the bill she signed didn't have the teeth and the things that he had, and that's why he wasn't in attendance at the signing, because one of the things was that he wanted community folks as part of that commission. And
yeah, I mean, he stated that on the show. He just said that.
Right. Well,
yeah.
Well, I tuned in near the end.
Oh, I got you.
I
got you.
Okay. Where he was talking about Collie House, for example, the late Marilyn Killingham, who was a part of the Republic of New Africa and active in Cobra, was a relative. Collie House was her ancestor. And that's an excellent segue for me to mention that last week, the 7th meeting of the 3rd session of the Permanent Forum on People of African Descent took place, and this is a UN commission, took place in Geneva, Switzerland last week. I think I did hear him mention how December 12th were present at the UN Conference Against Racism, because this language of people of African descent was one of the things that came out of the UN Conference Against Racism. And 2024 ends a 10-year decade of people of African descent. During this period, people like the daughter of Frantz Fanon and others went around this country, and they were taking testimonies and having tribunals. They were at the Shabazz Center in New York. They were here at Union Temple in Washington, D.C., and in Chicago and Detroit, dealing with issues of police brutality. And at this meeting, civic organizations such as the DeWitt Proctor Institute, of course, in Cobra and NARC were there, the Nation of Islam were there, and they're dealing with the issue of reparations on the world stage. This is a global issue. Now, some of these entities that are having these fights in cyberspace, not only were they not in attendance, they didn't even know it was going on. And there are efforts being made to undermine what is taking place. Like in California, there were people who were fighting more to keep others from getting reparations and being excluded than they were fighting for reparations. And it's happening also in New York. There is something else that's going on here. And I sent you the information about the meeting that took place in Geneva, Switzerland. Hopefully you will have someone on that was present that can talk about it.
It's funny. I'm going to just interrupt you for a second, Fahima. People are always sending me things. You should have this person. You should have that person. I'll give you a hint. About 95% of the time, we're inviting those people and they're not responding. So just FYI, we're always inviting people on the lineage side, on the Pan-African side, the celebrity side, the politicians. It's not, unfortunately, we don't have carte blanche where we can just call them and they hop on. We have to bug them. But yeah, we're working on it.
Well, Dominique, the two people that I recommended, you have had them on. Cam Howard and Nkechi Taifa both were present in Geneva.
As was Camilla Moore and Lisa Holder and a whole bunch of other people we've had on. Yeah.
So I don't think you'll have any difficulty getting someone that was present at the conference. And so people who were present. And reparations is a global issue. It is not just HR 40, it's HR 40.
Right, but Fahima, just because it's a global issue doesn't mean that individual states, counties, cities, communities are not going to have their distinct fights and issues. I mean, honestly, Jamaicans are not fighting for reparations for people in Queens or in California. People, you know what I'm saying? Yes, it's a global issue, but there are distinct communities that are part of that globe.
Jamaicans aren't fighting for reparations at all, Dominique.
Well, they will.
There were various entities.
Actually, they're talking about it. I have been reading.
That's CARICOM, which Cobra assisted them in setting it up with Sir Henry Beckles. My point is that even some of these entities in these various states and municipalities were present at this meeting. And what I'm saying is that there are folks who are fighting these wars on the internet and virtually in an effort harder to prevent others from, they want to separate so hard from others that they're not even fighting for reparations. I mean, you had in Tennessee, and I'm going to land here, you had in Tennessee, just like they did in Texas, the legislature had passed a resolution to prevent reparations from being fought. And
Texas
nobody
too.
was even addressing it.
Texas
These
too.
people weren't even addressing it. They're not serious. Anyway, I'm going to land here, and I will just say this. The genesis of many of these organizations are suspect. The genesis of these organizations were not originally reparations. They were a ruse, and people that are following them, many of them are sincere, many of them are earnest, but if the root is rotten, so are the branches.
Fahima, but I want to challenge you or ask you about something. You say reparations is a global movement, and I don't disagree with that. But why does that invalidate specificity?
If you are fighting for reparations, you're fighting for reparations in every sector. Let's not even deal with Geneva. Why, if you are in Memphis, Tennessee, right? If you are one of these groups and you're in Tennessee and you don't even go to the meeting to challenge these people that are trying to ban reparations.
No, I mean, point taken. But you told me, you said Jamaica's not fighting for reparations, but I think they are. And you said, well, that's CARICOM. Okay, well, Jamaica's part of CARICOM.
Dominique, you said Jamaicans in Queens are
No, you misheard me. That's not what I meant. I said Jamaicans are not fighting for you if you are in Queens. They're fighting for Jamaicans. They're fighting for reparations for Jamaicans. That was my point. I was just saying, yeah, if they're part of CARICOM, my point is the fact that there's a CARICOM, the fact that there's a movement in Africa, that there are Brazilians fighting for reparations, and it continues to spread as it should. Yes, it's a global movement, but to me, that's not at odds with the idea of people seeking specific remedies or seeking recognition for their specificity of their lineage. On the other hand, I do agree with you that there's a lot of plants in this movement. There's a lot of people that are actually there to undermine reparations, to create division. And I think the point you make about why aren't you challenging these laws in Texas, Tennessee, and other places that are trying to preemptively ban reparations is a great point. I'm not equating or negating the fact that there's a lot of plants, there's a lot of trolls and conservative operatives inside of the reparations movement, but I think to use that as a reason to not address some of the issues that are being raised could be a mistake.
Okay. So when they had the meeting in Ghana, everyone was at the table. Everyone was at the table. NARC was there, and Cobra was there, CARICOM was there, and people, you mentioned the other places around the country, around the world, and also in Geneva, Switzerland, they were there. Everybody was there except these nefarious groups who didn't even know that there was a conference taking place in Geneva, and they attacked and condemned the conference that was taking place in Ghana. The fact of the matter is that the British, the French, the Portuguese, all of them owe reparations.
Yep, true.
All of them.
But then again, you just said, Fahima, that you know there are a lot of sincere young activists inside these lineage movements. And so if they're feeling excluded, you just said they were excluded. If that's excluded on the basis, it sounds like you're saying on the basis of ignorance, or on the basis, or is it on the basis of the fact that, you know, there's such an undermining faction, a troll faction or even a foundation for some of these organizations?
The thing is that both of these groups started with a pretext of reparations, and there were well-meaning, naive people that followed them. And many of them woke up, right? And some of those very same people branched off and morphed into other things, which in many instances are just as xenophobic, just as hateful, just as anti-black as the rest of them, as the initial ones. You got people who are actually saying horrible things about Africa. I can't even describe it. I think I may have shared with you once. Yvette Carnell had a space. I was in the space, and she was talking about what took place in Ghana, West Africa at the conference. And she mischaracterized a lot of stuff. But what really was disturbing to me, there were 3 black men who was on the space who work in schools in Brooklyn. I don't know if they're teachers, coaches, or what. But they were talking and said that they were checking to see if the children were ADOS. What have we become?
ADOS, oh, you're talking about whether they were Black Americans or immigrants. Okay, not whether they belong to the organization. Understood. Fahima, I appreciate your passion and your insights. Your always tracking this movement, and I think it's admirable. Thanks for your call. We got some folks. Yeah, folks want to weigh in. I think Fahima might have got y'all fired up. We'll get to you when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
That was another way. I would smoke once an hour. That didn't work either. All that would happen at some point of the day, I would end up doubling up. Other ways that I tried to quit was I stopped buying cigarettes totally. But if I took 3 puffs off of 15 friends, those didn't count because they weren't my cigarettes and they weren't full cigarettes. I went through a lot.
Every attempt is part of your story to quit for good. Visit Kick It California today at kickitca.org.
Some days I cover up because of my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Now I'm hitting the road with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, Rizumkizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieved 90% clearer skin at 4 months. And Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZZI to learn more.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DiPrima on First Things First.
I love the way you guys call me at the last minute. But look, let's get these calls be succinct so we can get everybody in. Going to Morris from Inglewood. Happy Friday, Morris.
Good morning, Dominic. Let me be quick. I know you got a lot of callers. First of all, last time I checked, you got a right to petition your government. And also the last time I checked, we got a thing called freedom of speech. And the last time that I checked, if when you violate your bail bonds conditions, you go to jail, Donald Trump. We got 3 judges that got gag orders on this fool. He violating all of them. Ain't nobody had him arrested. My point is, we got a right to petition our government. We got a right to freedom of speech, everybody. You better get protests in some place. You're going to wake up one day, you won't be able to do that either. Get your next call, Ms. Dominique DiPrima.
Yeah, it's a great point, Saul. Solidarity with those students protesting wherever you might be. Going to Rob from L.A. Hi, Rob. Rob, you there? Testing 1, 2. Rob, please come to the Black Courtesy telephone. Guess Rob's not ready. We going to Molly Bell from the city of Compton.
Reparations in memory of our ancestors. You have just been great this whole week.
Thank you.
You've just been blowing it out the water with all your guests. I just want to this might be a little comical, but I wonder how Fonnie Willis is feeling and Nathan Wade. They thought them going on vacation together, working together. Look at Trump. I started to say whore, but I'm not. I don't talk like that. And doing everything that he's doing. And Dominique, and I'm just asking the listeners, if the Supreme Court, because they've been cold-blooded, if they pass everything that Trump wants, like to say he has immunity, he could stay president, but they would have to do it before the election. And if they do it before the election, how come Biden just say, cool, I'm going to stay in here. I'm not going to get out. I'm not going to leave. I'm going to do all the things that Trump wants to do, and then afterwards change it. I'm going to dismantle the Supreme Court. Something has to be.
But Biden won't. But Biden won't do that because he's a old school Democrat who goes by norms, and there's nothing wrong with that. But in this case, he's not going to. I mean, I don't think it's a terrible idea, but he's not going to say, I'm going to be a dictator before you. Ha, I have immunity. I mean, he won't do it.
But I'm saying that if we could get it out, that is a choice, Biden, just do it just for a minute. And then when you're in, you can make a law that no one else can do it, and you're only going to do it for 6 months or something like that. He can do it if it's over democracy or dictatorship forever. Anyway, prayer warriors, keep fasting and praying because the struggle continues, and always to God be the glory. Thank you, Dominique.
Thank you, Molly Bell, and thank you for keeping the chat so lively. Molly Bell be up in there getting people going, shouting people out. Oh, apparently Rob is from the Bay Area. Well, Rob from the Bay Area, you're on.
Hello, I just wanted to say that when we talk about the reparations being a global movement, I would disagree with that and say that it's not a global movement, and that all claims are the exact same. Like
but nobody said all claims were the exact same. Global movement just means it's happening around the globe.
Yes, but the way that you would petition for your justice claim, ADOS in America did not experience colonialism as has happened in Africa. And so that claim would be different.
Unless you're an indigenous person, right?
Would be different.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah,
I mean, the only reason I'm not saying that indigenous people have a right to reparations. Don't misconstrue what I'm saying. But you're making it sound like there's no colonialism in the United States, and we had a robust.
That's not what I said, because at this point I'm referring to ADOS. So that group wouldn't even be considered anyway. But insofar as we're just talking about global colonialism, yes, they're doing their work through like different agreements and that they had with the government. And so again, that kind of reinforces my point that the slavery that ADOS experienced in America, and then the way that the racialization continued to manifest disadvantage, that happened differently than the way that Native Americans, experienced their harm.
Yeah, no, I wasn't arguing for Native Americans to get reparations. I didn't want to let it slide like saying there was no colonialism in America. But I do have a question for you, Rob. You say that why do you feel it's a problem to say it's a global movement, even though everyone's repair may look different, right? People were enslaved in Brazil, they were enslaved in Jamaica, they were enslaved in Cuba, and all by different government entities, right? Some the Portuguese, some the Spanish, some the French, Haiti. Just because they're different solutions, it's still part of a global movement for the repair of our enslavement. Why is that problematic to you?
Well, because even then, again, what you're doing is you're applying a mass kind of harm to everyone, and when instead you can say that, yes, different groups of people globally should push for a reparations claim. But that's not the same as saying, well, the African reparations claim will be the same thing as even if you wanted to just take out the slave diaspora reparations claim. That's going to be two whole different things. And then the way that slavery was practiced in each of the different countries that experienced slavery,
but having global solidarity doesn't mean that you can't have nuances and recognize the different situations and complex harms in different nations. Why does one cancel out the other?
Well, because right now, with the way that people are explaining solidarity, it's really just a flattening of blackness, and where, in the way that I've seen it, is where ADOS have to kind of flatten their blackness while everybody else can kind of be proud of their national specificity.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I wouldn't be for that. I just feel like there's also a trap in saying two things. One, we're not part of a world community, and number two, that I don't have my 40 acres and a mule in Africa too.
I mean, but even that discussion, when you say that there's a 40 acre and a mule in Africa, you do realize that Africans sold slaves into the slave trade.
But which is largely hugely overstated. It's a small group of folks, and they're stealing from fellow Africans. They're stealing people from fellow Africans. They're selling prisoners of war. So it's totally different. That's apples and oranges.
Not really, because if you're talking about slave traders trading slaves to other slave traders, then how is that apples?
No. We're talking about it's like the difference between gang warfare and the government occupation. Oh, you know what, Rob? Call me early. I gotta go. I gotta go. It's time for Tavis Smiley's show. Not to cut you off, but it's time to go. So call me earlier next time, Rob. This is a really important conversation, and you're a great person to have it with. So I hope you'll call me again. I'm quoting Fannie Lou Hamer on the way out the door. She says, "Nobody's free until everybody's free." Have a wonderful weekend. The best of Tavis Smiley is next, and he had a strong week as well. If you missed my podcast this week, they are available wherever you get your pods, and you can find the shows on YouTube. A lot of great conversations this week. I'm Dominique DiPrima. History is now, and we are making it together. Thank you, Miles. Thank you, Mandla. Thank you to our incredible KBLA team showing up here every day and making this happen. Until next time, one love.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. The company that owns Google is announcing its first ever dividend. Alphabet on Thursday announced a dividend of 20 cents per share and a stock buyback of $70 billion. Stock in the company surged nearly 16% after the bell, increasing its stock market value by about $300 billion to over $2 trillion. Former University of Southern California running back Reggie Bush now has his 2005 Heisman Trophy back. The African-American former star running back had his trophy taken away in 2010 after the NCAA imposed sanctions